Well, I've had a slight delay in the guitar building area due to what you can see there here in north central Texas DFW area. We are going to be over almost a week without getting above freezing. We have several inches of snow on the ground. Quite unusual. Our power has been out for 31 hours. So hopefully we'll get back to guitar building soon. Pretty though. So something else I wanted to show you, I didn't go through the whole process on the video, but I like to mark up where things are going to go accurately on the neck at this point. On the body, I kind of put about where the 22nd fret's going to be. I like to keep monitoring that. Roughly where the pickups are going to go, where the bridge is at. These could be off by a couple of millimeters either way. I'm not going to use them to cut the holes. I just want it to help me visualize. I've also put where I want the kind of carve I like on my guitars is I start out with a chamfer at this end. Out in here it starts to go to a 45 chamfer here. It starts to get shallower, and then by the time it gets to here it's kind of a very shallow round over all the way. It comes down about a quarter of an inch or so on the sides, comes back and goes back to this side and goes back to the shallow chamfer and then a 45 degree at the end, and sand the rest of the stuff off. Depending upon where I end up with the thing, I may cut some relief right here. Just depends. And then I also marked a belly relief on the back, and I marked out roughly where my control cover is going to go, and of course where my controls are going to go right there. So again, this isn't to be accurate. It's close, and all I want that to do is help me visualize that a little bit. I'm impaired in that direction, so this helps me out quite a bit. Might help you. So this blank, like most of the time, it's not quite wide enough for the headstock, so it's going to need some ears glued on it. I'm going to take the piece that came from down here. Get that. Here we go. So it's close to the same grain. I'm going to cut ears out of that material right there. So I have the neck with the headstock down flat, nice and flat. Made my two earpieces, line them up from the top with the grain the best I could. Kind of marked them roughly where they need to go here. Now I'm going to glue them, clamp them together, let that dry up. Okay. Now there's a piece of wax paper underneath that, which I've found is a good way to keep the glue from just going everywhere or sticking something to the table you don't want it to. Got. So I've placed the fretboard on, lined it up to my center line, lined it up to my nut location. And I'm going to drill a couple of holes in it to register it so that when I clamp it down to glue it, it doesn't wander all over the place. Off the edge of the fretboard flush with the neck bank and get that started. So now I'm going to plow out some material from the control cavity and from where the neck pocket's going to go. Pocket, and since I'm old and have a bad back, I sit down while I'm doing this if I can. But when I'm at this level with the router bit, that's why I prefer the full face shield. So still got the safety glasses on too. So now let's see if we can make ourselves a neck pocket. The back cavity now. Video on for this part right here, where I recess these for so when the contour comes down, the usual kind of PRS look like that. What I use for that, people have made various tools. I use a bowl cutting, it's round on the edge and flat on the bottom, a bearing, and so then I just have a thing with various holes in it that I use to line up whatever I want to do. In this case, I'm going to do a volume switch tone. So that's what I use to get that thing around the corner at the bottom. Other ways to do it too. Okay, so got a few things done. I got the neck fit into the pocket. Now it's proud and it's going to have a neck break angle. And I've already figured that out to be 2 degrees in this particular case. And I'll take it back to about here somewhere once I draw the now that I know where the end of this is, I can now draw in for real. I told you I'd put those pickups in before, but now I can draw in for real exactly where I want them. And of course I'll wait to do the bridge until I get the nut on and get that exactly right. But I did that and made a back plate. Went ahead and marked out on the back of the, right there, the where I want that to go, and I carve it out. Done the same up here for the loot, and we'll see what we get. Should come out pretty reasonable. Got to figure out a few things to do. Anyway, on to the next step. Try to cut a chamfer on this just to get it a little material removed before we do the carve on it. So for the step to cut down the front of the body here for the neck break angle, which I have figured out to be 2 degrees, and that's both off my scale drawing and some other measurements. I have a jig here to help me do that. I can put, it's on hinge, put this at an angle. It's got an alignment down the center. Use some double sticky tape. Now, a lot of double sticky tape leaves residue and so forth, and you can use the super glue and masking tape trick, as Ben Crow talks about, but I've got this brand right here. You probably can't read it, but it's X-Fasten, and it's pretty good. Doesn't leave residue. Sticks pretty well. I haven't had any trouble with it, so I'm use that. I have access to that, so. Again, I'll leave this set up because I need the same angle for the bottom of the neck joint as well. So yeah, that looks pretty good. That's going to give me a nice, you can kind of see on the edge here what it does. It's hard to see on that white wood. It left the chamfer tapers out to right at the corner, which is the other thing that's kind of do. Okay, so I can take care of the rest of that. Anything else I'm going to do on top here with the grinder and then some files and rasps, sandpaper. So yeah, I think that's going to be pretty good. Now we'll try to work on the neck. So here's the back with a slight angle on it towards there. So made on the same jig, we're just going to fit this now with some sandpaper and just so this is the final check. Here's my bridge. Roughly the right position, come along the neck, it just goes into one of those slots, which means that as the thing goes up here for strings, I'll be able to readjust that, leave adjustment room for that to hit, and set up the guitar correctly.